So the American people should understand Republicans just blocked the Senate from even debating legislation to end partisan gerrymandering and make our Congress more representative of the people. Surely our Republican colleagues, however, would agree that billions of dollars in anonymous campaign donations every year is not a function of a healthy democracy. Surely they must agree that America's representatives should have only one boss, the people, not the special interests. So I'm going to ask the Senate now to debate a simple measure to bring a much-needed transparency to campaign donations. Just transparency, not even limits, although I would certainly support those. At the very least, the American people deserve to know who is trying to influence their representatives and how strenuously. So I ask unanimous consent the Senate proceed to the immediate consideration of S. 2671, Calendar 120, the Disclose Act of 2021, which has the support of our entire caucus.
Is there objection?
Mr. President.
Senator from Texas.
Reserving the right to object. You know, I would note there is a long history of government trying to force the disclosure of the identity of political contributions, and much of that history is sordid. Indeed, in a landmark case before the United States Supreme Court, racist Southern Democratic politicians tried to force the NAACP to hand over their donor list. And they wanted to do so for reasons that were not difficult to discern, because they intended to persecute those who dared contribute to the NAACP. And the Supreme Court, in a landmark decision, concluded that the Constitution protects against that forced disclosure. But I will say, the Majority Leader said just a few minutes ago, that surely there must be some area of common ground, and indeed there is on this issue. I think all of us, if we were speaking in a moment of candor, if we were not engaged in our typical partisan battle on the floor, would acknowledge the current system is stupid. The current system makes no sense. Super PACs make no sense. Why is that? Because in all of our elections, every one of us has run for elections, there are super PACs, which are independent groups. It is illegal for us as candidates to speak with those independent groups. And in every one of our races, I see the senator from Arizona. He's going to have a hotly contested race. It wouldn't surprise me to see $100 million or more spent in his race, perhaps on both sides. Much of that will be spent in super PACs. It is illegal for us as candidates to communicate with those super PACs, and so we are left with the bizarre situation where there's millions or sometimes tens of millions of dollars being spent on behalf of us, millions, sometimes tens of millions of dollars being spent attacking us, and we can't communicate with them. We hope it has some bearing or relevance to what we believe. Every Congress since I've been here, I've introduced legislation to end this. This is legislation called the Super PAC Elimination Act. This act does two very simple things. Number one, it allows unlimited individual contributions to federal campaigns. Not from unions, not from corporations, but from real human beings, from people, unlimited contributions. I would note, this is the way the state of Texas handles state elections. Number two, my legislation, the Super PAC Elimination Act, requires immediate 24-hour disclosure. So if an individual writes a check to a campaign, that gets disclosed immediately, and you can debate about whether that contribution was corrosive or not. This legislation would not prohibit super PACs, but as a practical matter, super PACs would fade from relevance, because every candidate would much prefer money given to their campaign where you can spend on your own message. It would make far more sense to have an open, transparent system. Accordingly, I ask unanimous consent that the Senate proceed to the immediate consideration of a bill at the desk that would protect freedom of speech in America's electoral process and ensure transparency in campaign finance. I ask unanimous consent that the bill be considered read a third time and passed, and that a motion to reconsider be considered made and laid upon the table.
Mr. President,
Majority Leader.
I object to the senator from Texas's legislation. It's obvious to just about every American it would make a bad situation even worse. So I object.
The objection is heard.